Hello YouTube. Quite a while ago now, probably 2 years ago maybe, I did a little video about a drift firmware update for the Ghost HD. The latest firmware at the time that was a little bit questionable of whether it works or not, and yeah, it was that one that caused a lot of problems, certainly with sound. Today, this is a little update about the Drift Ghost S firmware update that was released a few months ago. Version 1. I don't even know what version number it is. It's the first firmware update that drifters have released since launching the Ghost S. Now, many people have had issues with the Ghost S, with it just corrupting files and just stopping recording, freezing up, things like that. I have had some of them issues in the past on the original firmware. A few months ago I did this firmware update on the Ghost S, and so far it appears to run a lot better on the new firmware. There is a couple of things to be aware of, and that is, for some reason, when you turn it on, even though you got Wi-Fi turned off on the camera, when you first turn it on, it comes up saying Wi-Fi initializing, and that's on the screen for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds, and whilst that's on the screen you can't do anything, but once it's gone everything's fine. On the original firmware it seemed like if you press record, if you turn the camera on and press record straight away, you would most likely run into problems. So the fix there was to turn the camera on, give it a good 30 seconds to fully boot up, if you like, and then start recording. With this, once you get that Wi-Fi initializing message disappear, it seems you can press record and it works fine. It seems to be alright so far when I've been doing that. The only other issue, it's not really an issue, it's a bit of an annoyance, and it's fine really. For the first, 10 or 20 seconds of a video clip, the sound seems to go a bit funny. It's like almost like the audio track's doubled up and slightly out of sync, so you kind of hear like a duplicate track. It is a bit strange, and also the last sort of 10 seconds or so of the video clip seemed to be silent. But other than that, the sound in between is fine. In fact, I think the sound quality, it might just be my imagination, but I think the sound quality has ever so slightly improved. Thank you. Another problem I've had on the original firmware, as with many people, is it'll be recording fine, and then you'll suddenly hear like 3 bleeps and then some fuzzing noise. I've had that a couple of times on the original firmware, and I think it has happened once on this firmware update, so it's not completely fixed it, but it certainly has seemed to improve things. Another thing I have changed is the SD card. I was still using my original 32 gig Kingston SD card, which I've been using since I started, and I think it got to the stage where it was just starting to corrupt files, so I think the SD card was also part of the problem. However, I am still using that SD card in my GoPro, and it seems to be fine in that. I've not had any issues there, so the card may be okay. But drifts are a bit funny with particular brands of SD card, particularly Samsung. But I've upgraded my card to a SanDisk Class 10 64 gig, and yeah, so far it's been mostly fine. There is still the odd issue, but it's certainly not as bad as with the original firmware. So there you go. If you're wondering or not whether to update your Drift Ghost S to the latest firmware, it's I'd say it's a fairly safe thing to do. It does seem to help. And the good thing about them is that if it's not working for you, you can still revert to the original firmware. Just make sure you've got it downloaded somewhere first. I think on the Drift website you can only download the latest version of firmware, but if you contact their technical support team and say that you're having issues with the current firmware, can you send me the original firmware, they should email you a Dropbox link. I have got on my Google Drive, which is there's a shared link to it, on my other video to this, which I'll link up in the description, the Drift Ghost HD firmware packages. I think there's 2 or 3 different versions of that I've got on my Google Drive. So if you do need to downgrade on your Ghost HD, then the links are there. Otherwise, for the Ghost S, go to the Drift website. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful to some of you. It appears it would be, because on that original video I did for the Ghost HD firmware, that actually got quite a lot of views. So I obviously wasn't the only one having issues. So yeah, hopefully this one helps as well. Thank you all for watching, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. A quick video for you, and it's a warning to Drift Ghost users. I don't think this applies to the Ghost S or the HD 1080 or any of the other models. I'm talking just about the Ghost HD.